In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Magna Carta steel flex nib. I'll go over the specs, I will do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like and don't like about this nib coming up. So today we are looking at this brand new steel flex nib from Magna Carta. This was kindly loaned to me by Neil over at the Wasted Paper YouTube channel. Go check out his channel. He has some great fountain pen content. And Neil also let me know that this pen model that I'm using here is some kind of prototype. It's not available for sale. However, the nib, to my understanding, is the final product. This is not a prototype nib. Looking at the hardware here, it is pretty much the same design as their gold 14 karat flex nib, which I did a review of a little while ago. I'll put a link to that up in the corner. I was very impressed with that nib. This has the same Magna Carta logo, the heart-shaped breather hole, which I really like, and it has just, I think, generally a very pleasant shape to it with a nice flare at the nib shoulders there. It just looks very, very nice. We also get a ebonite feed, which again looks quite nice. And like the 14 karat gold flex nib, this is a JoWo number 6 compatible nib. Now I will say, when I got this pen, when I got this nib, I was told this was a prototype, so I originally wasn't going to show this pen. However, I unscrewed this and put it into a Delta, which I use with a bunch of other JoWo number 6 nibs, and the nib got stuck. I think the housing on this particular one is not perfect, so just be a little bit cautious with that, but in theory, this is a JoWo number 6 compatible nib unit. Now, I don't believe that these nibs are sold individually. You have to buy a pen with them. The cheapest pen that I could find on the Magna Carta website with these new Flex steel nibs was $250. So it's a pricey nib for sure, but I've been very impressed with the performance. So let's go to the writing sample. So for the writing sample, I'm going to be using a brand new Papermind Tomoe River twin ring notebook. These are currently available for pre-order, and if you pre-order, you will save 15% off of the list price. So here we go. And I've had the cap off of this. Oops. I've had the cap off of this for a minute, so let's see how it does. Yep, still good. Ugh, steel, jeez. Forgive the spelling there. Oh. Flex nib. And this is Hiroshizuku Konpeki. I put this in here because, with the flex nib, you want to have the best flow possible, and this ink really flows very well, so that's why I chose it here. I'll just do some normal writing. It's definitely wet, which is really what you want for a flex nib because, yeah, the ink flow needs to keep up with the nib, especially when flex. Let's try fast writing. Won't go too crazy because, again, it's not my nib. No performance issues. I've been very, very impressed with this nib. So let's try some flexing. Just with a little bit of pressure, you do get some line variation. It's quite nice, and what I like about this compared to the gold one, why I prefer this one, is there's more snap back, more spring back to the nib, whereas the other one really, you just had to be so light with it that in normal writing, it was almost a bit much. Not saying you couldn't do that, but it was a little bit trickier. Now, like that gold one, I do think that the nib material here is like very, very thin. So, I don't know how these do for longevity. One other thing I did notice on this nib, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, is the slit is not cut perfectly. The right tine is a bit fatter than the left tine. It hasn't caused any performance issues for me. It writes really beautifully, and it just keeps up really nicely. We did get some railroading there, but in normal writing, even when I'm just really trying to flex this thing, it keeps up really beautifully. This is, as far as modern flex nibs go, this is one of the best out there. So now let's do a little bit of a comparison of some other nibs. First up, let's try a modern steel flex nib. Now this is a nib from FP Nibs, which is a company in Spain that specializes in, well, selling fountain pens and specifically fountain pen nibs. So this is, a regular Kaweco fine nib, but they put the slit into it a bit further and they really juiced up the feed. So with this, I do get more, flexibility out of it. I wouldn't say necessarily the snapback is better, but in normal writing, but it does, yeah, there was a railroad. I think there is more flexibility out of this particular nib. However, I think the flow on the Magna Carta is a bit better. Now here I have a Omas 557 Ogiva pen. I think it's an Ogiva. Well, it's not really actually an Ogiva, is it? It's just an Omas Extra 557. And this has, a vintage semi-flex nib. And it's very, very wet, and you do get more thick and thin lines out of it. So none of these modern nibs really compare to something like this, and I would still call this probably semi-flex, or maybe you would call it fully flexible. It's certainly not a wet noodle, but you get much better thick and thin lines out of this. But it's very, very wet. So that's just some comparison. I do think, though, for a steel flex nib, this is really very good. The feed keeps up beautifully, and you do get some nice line variation. I definitely prefer the Magna Carta steel flex nib to their gold flex nib. So, if you want something that's a little bit less of a wet noodle, but still has nice line variation and better snapback than that 14 karat gold one, I would pick this over the gold one. Now, in terms of, something that's feeling special, I do think this FP Nibs Kaweco semi-flex nib does give more character and line variation than the Magna Carta. However, I don't think the feed quite keeps up as well, but it's very, very usable. I use this nib all the time for regular writing, and I do get good line variation out of it with regular writing, and I don't really run into too many issues where I'm railroading. It does happen, but not all the time. And the nib here, I believe, was 32 euros. So, if you bought a plastic Kaweco Sport, just the most basic one, and then you added this nib on there for 32 euros, you would save a lot of money over the Magna Carta. So something to consider there. So what are my pros and cons? Well, I think this is one of the best modern flex nibs that I've ever used. It feels similar to vintage semi-flex. It has more snapback than the Magna Carta 14 karat gold flex nib, which was very wet noodle-like. This feels like something that you can use more easily every single day. It is smooth. The feed, the ebonite feed, keeps up really well with this pen. I don't have any issues with railroading. It's very, very well tuned. It has a number 6 JoWo nib unit threading, so you can put it into a lot of different pens in theory. Now, in terms of cons, the cheapest way to get one of these nibs, as far as I can tell, because I do not believe that they are sold individually, is to buy a Magna Carta pen, and the cheapest one I saw was $250. So it's not cheap, but for a flex nib that works as well as this, I don't think it's a terrible price. Now, one thing I don't love about these nibs, and I think the Magna Carta product in general, is quality control. The nib here, the tines are cut a bit uneven. It has no effect on the performance. The one issue I did have was the threading on the nib unit housing. I tried putting that in a Delta pen, which I use with a bunch of other JoWo number 6 nibs without any problems, and this got stuck in there. So just general Magna Carta quality control, you know, it's not the best. However, this nib is really a beautiful writer, just something to watch out for there. But that's pretty much it. Do you guys have a Magna Carta steel flex nib? Let me know in the comment section below if you like this video. Please hit that like button. And if you want to see more fountain pen paper and ink videos, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much, and until next time.